let's wrap up with our next guest. His name's Peter Cowley. It says here he's an entrepreneur, very active technology angel investor. And I've just found out he's a Hull fan, Hull City. You might be back in the Premier League next season.
Yes, exactly. Looking pretty likely at the moment. Yeah, certainly probably should be in the top 3 or 4.
So, good stuff. Right, young Peter, I've got some questions here that the production team have put together. What startup founders need to know when approaching angels for money and when working with them later on?
Yeah, that's a big question.
That's a good question,
in fact,
isn't it?
it's 2 questions really. There's 2 sides to it. So the getting to the point of investment and then after investment. The first thing they should know is that they need a warm introduction. It's much easier to go in having made contact with another angel and that angel then recommends them in. Not easy to do. It means approaching an angel, you know, directly. I know somebody who uses a Twitter feed, for instance, does tweets to angels and gets contact that way. But then once they've got there, I mean, you don't have to do that. There are, of course, cold ways in. They've got to be the usual things that everybody wants to invest in, which is basically a stellar team. In my case, it's a minimum of 2 people. It's very rare I'll invest in 1, and it's never that I've invested in 4. So it's a team. So 2 people, possibly 3 people.
Yep.
They need to have clearly an idea, something that's innovative, something that's going to generate a product or service with an unmet need.
Yep.
So they're not doing the same thing for somebody else, and they need a plan to put together. They also, in my case, and we'll come to this later probably, need a valuation which is appropriate.
So what do angels like and dislike? Bad valuations?
Yeah. I didn't actually finish answering your question yet. And once they're there, an angel, if they join the board, will add a huge amount of value in terms of governance, in terms of mentoring, coaching, the investment journey, etc. So what do they like and don't like? What they like is an entrepreneurial team that will listen. Really important, and it can take time to work that out.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm talking about offline angels here, not crowd angels, of course. So it'll take some time to get to know the entrepreneurs. Of course, the entrepreneurs want the money as soon as possible because they will they want to get on and build a business. They don't want to waste the time talking to people like me, etc., etc. What they mustn't do is lie. Now, they won't lie as in completely lie, hopefully, but there are white lies. There's stuff that comes out in the due diligence, and I should point out the due diligence needs doing both ways. So we'll do due diligence on the entrepreneurs, and they should do a lot of due diligence on us to make sure we're the right people to have as investors, and we're not going to, you know, do things wrong. They must be flexible, so they must be able to bend, they must be able to pivot, etc. And again, they must. We do like, you know, the deal to look right for both parties.
Right. So how is, in terms of angel investing, is it sort of forever changing?
Of course, big change happened about 3 years ago with crowdfunding. So if you take the numbers before, it was said there were about 20,000 angels up till perhaps 5 years ago who were investing, of which probably 3/4 were investing in people they met through the golf club or friends, family, etc. And about 5,000 or so were doing it in some sort of structured way, of which perhaps 2,000 were groups. So that's 20,000. Difficult to know how many people are investing through platforms now, but I would suspect it's something between 250,000 and probably 1/3 So that's changed dramatically.
Right.
Now, these people are not investing large amounts of money necessarily.
Yep.
Though some are. So there's a much bigger pool of capital there. What else is changing? Gradually, there's becoming more transparency in the market, and there's a big issue with information flow, because in the end, as you know, because you've been in the city for a long time, you know, transparency makes a big difference to pricing. You're pricing risk and you're pricing for both parties. So I'm glad that's happening as well.
Right. One of the criticisms has been the valuations, these lofty valuations. That's just not realistic, is it, in a lot of cases?
Absolutely right. And those are being driven by A, possibly too much capital, B, by the tax advantages, particularly at the lower end, EIS, where you're getting 50% back immediately. They're also changing at the moment because of there is beginning to be a shortage of later stage funding, sort of A, B, depending on which side of the Atlantic you are, so probably B over here or A, which means that if a company needs a decent amount of cash that the angels can't provide, and some can exit without only angel cash, but if you need more cash, then it's becoming more difficult. And of course, if you value too high to start with, when you come later to go to a VC of some form who's putting in a couple of million, 3 million, 5 million, you may well end up, well, it almost certainly would come down. You will come down if the valuation's too high. And then, of course, exits as well. There's a sort of, not necessarily a lack of exits, but in the end, if you take the investment journey for any angel-backed businesses, round about a third will die. That's fine. You know, it's an experiment for everybody. A third will end up not necessarily going anywhere. They'll either become a lifestyle business or a zombie business. And a third will actually exit. It's those exits that matter.
Right. So how do you invest and why?
I invest by finding, you know, mostly offline, bit of online, but mostly offline. Why? I had a 30 years of entrepreneurial career. I invested actually in somebody I knew. We had a good exit about 8 years ago. And then I thought, well, I quite enjoy this. So I got involved with a group called the Cambridge Angels in Cambridge,
right,
which is where I'm based, and started to enjoy it. So I actually do it. I've already been in public said I'd like to get a 1x return of all my investments. I have probably on the order of 20% of my net wealth in angel investments. So 1x would be good because I actually enjoy the journey. Clearly, a 1.1x would be even better.
Yeah.
So I do. I really enjoy spending time with the entrepreneurs.
Well, I can tell you're very enthusiastic
exactly.
about that.
Extremely passionate about it.
You know, it sounds like it's not just a hobby. This is a full-time way of life for you.
It's a calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling. That's beautifully put. So in terms of the startups this year, okay, what's going to be really hot? What sector, what theme?
There's a couple of hypey things around which will settle down. So there's IoT, Internet of Things, which is, do you know IoT? No. So at the moment there's about 5 or 6 billion devices connected to the internet, whether they're mobile phones or they're PCs, etc. Devices are gradually being connected, so whether that's traffic lights or container ships or golf course, you know, moisture sensors or whatever. And that's supposed to be getting up to 50 or 100 billion devices in about 10 years' time, depending who you talk to. And this will do all kinds of things. There'll be all kinds of changes to our you know, how human beings do things. Autonomous car. My car's got 2 SIM cards in it, for instance. So there's IoT. There's artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data. Again, a lot of hype floating around there, but more and more of that's going on. I mean, there are potentially some downsides to that in terms of decisions being made that possibly humans won't want. EdTech's coming on quite fast. There's a lot of educational changes, the way that kids learn, and you know, rather than being sort of on a fixed structure, they really, in principle, ought to be learning the speed they can, so they can get to the same point. MedTech, there's a lot of stuff going on with personalised medicine and personified, I think what's it called, where you're actually monitoring yourself, whether it's a Fitbit or it's some sort of heart device, etc. So there's a number of things which are growing. I mean, these are all, none of these are new, but there's a lot of time, a lot of entrepreneurial thought going into that.
Okay, well, we've got to wrap up the show. Give me one final bullet point. Give me a theme. Give me a thought of the day.
The thought of the day, well, it comes down to transparency. I've been blogging about that, and I'm really pushing hard. We've got to make sure somehow over time that there isn't a distrust between investors and entrepreneurs, that we can all, that the information flow is right for that, so that the entrepreneurs don't suddenly get let down by an angel and vice versa. I don't know how we're going to do this, but that's what I'd love to happen.
Well, I've got to say, Peter Cowley, entrepreneur and serial technology angel investor, I love your enthusiasm.
Excellent, and I enjoyed working or being interviewed by you.